Hey.
Hey, Sean.
Hello.
Hey, Chris.
All right, we are live streaming. It's only maybe one more minute here, 5:59.
Everyone probably mute everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, Kelly.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Linda Holt. I'm on the Planning Commission, but my thing just says iPhone.
Oh, okay. Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah, so Linda Holt, Planning Commission.
Okay, great, Linda. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, it is 6 o'clock. We are live streaming and recording. I've muted everybody. Marcus, I think you're good to go.
Great. Good evening, everyone. The mayor cannot be with us tonight as he has a family, I won't say emergency, but taking care of family. So with that, I'll call the special meeting tonight for December the 15th to order, please. And can we get a roll call?
Sure. Councilmember Daughtry.
Present.
Councilmember Peter Shagan.
Present.
Councilmember Frederick.
Present.
Councilmember Dickinson.
Present.
Councilmember Jorstad.
Present.
Councilmember Ewing.
Present.
Councilmember Tagent.
Present as well.
Thank you.
Great. We have roll call. We're going to go right into the special meeting, and I'm looking for the consent agenda.
I move that we pass the
Move.
consent agenda
Second.
as submitted.
We have Angie Jorstad as a
Second.
first and Kim Daughtry as a second.
Yep.
Okay, great. Any discussion on any of the items? Good. Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
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 Aye. Anyone opposed? Great. So we will move forward with that consent agenda moves forward, and we will jump into our workshop meeting. Let's see. Our first is joint meeting with Planning Commission and Park Board. Russ.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Tagent. Good evening, Council. As we do every year, we have a joint meeting with both our Planning Commission and Park Board. So to get started, we'll have the first conversation with the Planning Commission, take a look at their work program for the year, and then I'm going to hand it off to Jill Meese, who will do the introduction for the Park Board and lead that conversation. As you see in your staff report, lots of accomplishments again this year. We've really been able to work through a lot of the long-range work program, including the implementation of the infill task force that we had formed to get some new infill zoning codes, modernize the rest of our zoning codes, dimensional standards, as well as do some significant updates to our subdivision code. All of those looking to streamline our code process, as well as try and make some more affordable housing options in the city by streamlining, obviously, the permitting process and giving some bonuses. We had the waterfront task force as well that council asked to be assembled. They looked at particular land uses, specifically the tolerance for multifamily around the waterfront area. That group passed on their work to the council and followed those recommendations, and there'll be some follow-up work going into 2021. Just recently, council passed the multifamily tax exemption, which will be a good economic development tool for anybody who would like to develop multifamily projects in relationship to commercial and other designated areas. and then some just standard updates for our floodplains. And then the big addition was the food truck ordinance that we worked on with Jill Needham and council's direction, and a lot of good input from the Planning Commission. Obviously, we have a few projects that are underway that council has been briefed on. And then the 2 annexations that are underway that we're hoping to wrap up in the early part of next year, late January, early February. Moving into the work program for next year, there are a number of items, a few carryovers, specifically the impact fee code. That is a piece of code we need to update as we complete these annexations, just to make sure that our current impact fees carry over to the newly annexed areas appropriately. We've had a lot of questions and concerns this last year about tourist homes. This is something that I had neglected to put on the list when I shared this with the Planning Commission, but it's here tonight for your consideration. We'd like to look at our code, specifically how do we modernize our code with the increase in Airbnbs and types of lodging that didn't really exist only a few years ago. We have some code cleanup that we'd still like to do towards the end of the year with all of the changes we've been doing in the code. There's still some sections we need to freshen up, and we've, as we've tested some of the new code sections, a couple of elements we'd like to tweak as we move forward. There have been questions over the years about what does the city want to do for tiny housing or micro housing. So this is something we'd like to explore in this next year. The proposed changes to the Growth Management Act may have some language as it relates to this type of housing. And there is specific guidance now, at least the structural elements in the updates to the building code series. And then if time allows later in the year, we'd like to look at our processing code, looking at how do we increase efficiencies in that while maintaining a robust public outreach program. And then recently, within the last week or so, we've received a private code amendment that would like to amend the buffer regulations for marijuana processing facilities. What the request would be is, because marijuana processing facilities are entirely enclosed, lots of cities, and there's authority under Washington state law that would allow a shorter buffer. And that's what would be proposed, to have a shorter buffer from physical property lines as the crow flies. But as you can get to these facilities via walking or street patterns, they would still maintain the current 1,000 feet. So again, that's just come in. And this is the proposed work program for council and planning commission next year, as well as some updates to the comprehensive plan. We've talked about an update to our shoreline management program to make sure that it carries through the work of the waterfront task force. And then the mayor would like us to start some sort of a sub-area planning process for the Hartford and Machias industrial areas, again, looking towards economic growth in those areas and infrastructure improvements to facilitate that type of growth. With that, I'd like to hand it over to the Planning Commission and just have them share any thoughts with the council from this last year, and then just a good conversation between the two bodies. With that, I will hand it over to Chair Davis. I believe she is on the line. Yes.
I am. Thank you so much, Director Wright. I wanted to first start by thanking the council for having us. We always enjoy this opportunity once a year to get together in person. I also was hoping to introduce the members of our commission. So I'm thinking, since we're in this virtual space, when I call your name, if you'll just give a little wave so that everyone can see who you are, that would be helpful. So we have Commissioner Holt with us tonight, Commissioner Huxford, Commissioner Osland, Commissioner Cronin, Commissioner Dewar, Commissioner Welch, and I am Commissioner Davis. I wanted to thank the council, but I also really want to take an opportunity to thank the staff this year. Always excellent work from the staff, but this was a particularly challenging, as everyone knows, shift almost instantaneously to a completely virtual process. And there was not one misstep in terms of professionalism from the staff. So I just wanted to publicly thank them for that. They made our work a lot easier, and I think it was a fairly seamless year given what we've all been encountering. My own comments on our work over the last year would be just to echo what Planning Director Wright said about the infill project and also the task force for the waterfront. For me, it was very gratifying to witness the process of public engagement, particularly when we're so in such an unusual time. And it was a gratifying experience for that. And as for me, I'm looking forward to our work plan for the next year. I think it's an ambitious plan, but I think it's completely doable. And I'm excited about these updates that with the tiny homes and the tourist homes. It's interesting to think about how we're moving our city into the future. So I am very excited about next year. And then I wanted to open it up to any comments from our commissioners that they'd like to forward on to the council.
I guess I can jump in real quick as one of the commissioners, since I'm the newest one, and I used to be on the other side of this meeting. It's been great being on the commission. I think the staff's professionalism through this entire COVID has been amazing. They've gotten a lot done when they've kept our job moving along. I guess I'd have a couple comments. I think our workload for next year looks really good. I would say, I guess I'm going to disagree a little with the chairperson. When it comes to the waterfront task force, I was not pleased with that it was ever even created in the first place. I think that's the job of the planning commission. I wish that had come to us instead. Our workload wasn't that heavy, and we could have handled it instead. So I'd like for us to remember that that's what we're here for, and those are the kind of recommendations that we should be working on. And then we can take that input from the public during the public process and those things. Other than that, I think it's been a great process, and it's been good being on this team.
Yeah, I can jump in as well. I'll echo what both the commissioners just said. In a year like this, I thought the city did a really good job streamlining it, and we still got a lot done. I also think the city with their presentations, there was a lot of thorough presentations. And yeah, overall, I thought the Zoom experience, I'm almost used to it at this point, which is saying something to credit to the city. And then secondly, as far as looking forward to what we are doing, I'm looking forward to the code cleanup. I think the city's doing a good job with that. A lot of it's long overdue, as they've said, and I really think streamlining will be helpful to all the city's property owners and to help kind of clarify just a lot of the redundancies within the code itself. So I look forward to that, and thank you all for the city council for having us tonight, and I look forward to also being more involved with the county or with the city council next year and sitting in on some of those meetings and kind of seeing it go to the through process. I feel like that was something I didn't do enough of this year, so I look forward to that.
If I may, this is Janice Hexford, just offering a couple comments to our chair, Davis, this year. Again, an exemplary way to run a meeting that we never knew that we'd have to do all day, every day, but respectfully, and just respectfully, our committee met every time asked and kept public comment respectful and informative. And it was really, certainly staff gave us information, but it's also who the people in the meeting that can hear every opinion and do with those opinions what needs to be done, but in a respectful way to everybody that makes a comment. So I appreciate you. To Commissioner Cronin, that was our second in command. Thank you. You did a great job. You're always fun to have in a meeting, and Zoom looks great on all of us. I would simply end with saying that there are some topics coming up in the next year that we have visited before, and I hope that we are simply truing up those topics and making them clear to all, clear to those coming into our city, clear to those who have invested and spent a lot of time in our city. I see Carl Johnson on the call tonight. I saw him at the post office yesterday. Hello, Carl. And I want to make sure that we are, again, keeping that respectful tone when it comes to some of the discussions that are heading our way and focusing on what's really the foundation of our community when it comes to infrastructure and land use and stormwater and infill and things that affect every single one of those that have invested in this community. So thank you. Appreciate your time.
This is Mike Dewar, one of the commissioners, probably one of the least senior commissioners. I think I was approved to sit on the commission right as we started to go remote. So all I know are Zoom meetings. So I want to thank you in particular to the staff who've done such a wonderful job this year and getting us the packets, keeping us informed, answering our questions. And I look forward to all the work that we have on our plate for next year. So thank you.
This is Commissioner Holt. I've been doing this a really long time. I would prefer to do this in person, but as you all know, we have to do the Zoom. Everyone's been really great this year. The staff and the commissioners, it's been an honor to be on this board again. I'm looking forward to next year. I'm hoping we can get back to the new normal or a new normal. But I think it's gonna go well. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, commissioners, for all of your kind words tonight. Maybe council members Peter Shagan or Ewing, who've attended a lot of the meetings, would have some feedback.
Certainly. Gary Peter Sagan. I would like to thank the Planning Commission for their diligence and dedication to the process. There have been robust discussions this last year, and having been your liaison along with Steve Ewing, it's great to get some insight as to what your thought process is and the reasoning behind it. So I appreciate attending your meetings, and again, your dedication and discussions that have taken place. They've been great. So doing a great job. So round of applause. So thank you. I just want to second what Councilmember Peter Shagan said. Chair Davis did an outstanding job, and also want to compliment new commissioners, Welch and Dewar. You guys really did an outstanding job of integrating, being part of the process. And you guys are really fortunate to be part of such an outstanding commission. I am biased because I was part of the commission prior to being on the council, but I have been so impressed with the respectful nature of the discussions, the honesty and transparency and sincerity of each of the commissioners trying to do the right thing for the right thing or for the right reason. So I just want to thank each of the commissioners for that. I remember being on the commission and having, be locked up at 3-3 on a vote where they were missing someone, and then, dissecting the difference between, what people were trying to accomplish and then changing my mind on something because of how things were presented. I see that is continued with that healthy, respectful debate that people have. It's avoided some of the, less than civil discourse, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, that we've seen in some other settings. So thank you to each of the commissioners, especially to Chair Davis for an outstanding year.
Thank you, council members. The question that we always ask of the Planning Commission, and I'll ask the same to the council, is do you have any concerns about the proposed workload, knowing that obviously some of the timing is subject to change, or any additions that the council would have, or the schedule is laid out? Is there anything that you would want to see prioritized differently? Okay, hearing no comments. If there's no further discussion between the Planning Commission and the City Council, I'm going to hand the meeting off to Jill, and she can introduce the work program. Like with the Planning Commission, lots of things have been accomplished in this last year, lots of great work from that. Also hardworking board and a long-serving board. So with that, I will hand it off to Jill.
Thanks, Russ. Good evening, City Council, Park Board. And for those of you that tuned in tonight, I would like to introduce you to the Parks and Recreation Planning Board members. We have Carl Johnson, Roger Schollenberger, Terry Van Wyk, Marlene Sweet, Tina Decker, and Susan Green. And then our park board chair this year is Chris Jones. This year has been different, and although our meetings were temporarily paused, the park board worked really hard on several initiatives. To name a few, earlier this year, the board forwarded a recommendation to streamline the process for serving alcohol in the parks for events. We reviewed playground and recreation elements for Frontier Heights Park. They held public meetings to name Oak Hill Park and Davies Beach. They updated the parks chapter of the comprehensive plan. They helped develop the Trails Master Plan. They collaborated on the Adopt a Community volunteer program. They worked with staff to bring Skyhawks recreation to the community, and they placed an emphasis on activating our parks for diverse uses. The Parks Board is a great group. They work really hard to advise and forward recommendations regarding parks to the City Council, the mayor, and the staff. Tonight, attached to the staff report, the Parks Board and staff have provided their proposed draft work plan for City Council's consideration and comment. Some of the items are carryover items that the board works on each year in an ongoing effort, and some are additional elements. This year, the board will be working on the master plan for the 20th Street ball fields, developing a request for proposal for new recreation opportunities and festivals, and preparing for Sunset Park's inclusion in the Lake Stevens inventory. The Park Board also coordinates with the Arts and Parks Foundation. That's part of the ongoing duties that they take on. They nominate members from their board to serve on that foundation. This year, Tina Decker, Carl Johnson, and Marlene Sweet served on that foundation. Personally, I want to thank the board for their patience and flexibility. We know that this was a very different year, but your dedication for Lake Stevens Parks, it shows in our meetings, and I enjoy the differing perspectives. At this time, I would like to open it up to the City Council and the Park Board members for any comments or questions.
Well, first of all, thanks everybody for council for having us tonight. For the council members that don't know me, my name is Chris Jones. I am the chair of the Park Board, and I've been on the Park Board for, just trying to figure it out today, I think 12 or 14 years now. It's been a long time. We've done a lot of great things, but really the last couple of years and this year with COVID and all of our Zoom meetings, again, as the Planning Commission chair said, I can't thank our city staff enough. Jill and Russ have been absolute rock stars. There's nothing we throw at them that they don't catch and turn it into something and get us the info we want back or need back to make decisions. And without staff like those two, I don't know if this board would be as successful as we are. So I just want to put a big shout out to Russ and Jill. I appreciate all of our conversations and all your guys' great input and help.
Thank you.
I just want to say, if I may speak up and say that the Park Board has been incredible. And Jill, we are so fortunate to have you and Russ as well in that game with them. I just am thrilled with the plans and moving forward. This is exactly what people Lake Stevens need to know right now, that there's something positive going on and is going to transform our town. And you are making it happen, as well as our Planning Commission. I'm just so grateful for these two organizations. Thank you for your hard work.
And I did forget one thing. I just noticed, and I apologize. I noticed Eric was on here with our Public Works, the work that him and his team have done in this park, taken some of our visions and made them come true. Again, thank you to those members as well. I've gotten to meet a lot of them over the years now, and you guys are doing great work out there. And I know the community appreciates it.
I'll jump on here and just say as well, great job, Jill. Chris, great job as well. I know COVID has made parks and everything just a little harder to deal with this year, but I think you guys set up a great foundation to set everything up for next year in 2021. You did do a lot of stuff nonetheless. I spent a lot of time chatting with Jill and Chris. For some reason, you and I always seem to find each other at Safeway. So that being said, I look forward to a really productive year next year, and parks are really important for our community. Thank you, and we appreciate your volunteer mindset that every one of you has, and just can't thank the staff enough for making everything happen this year. And Lake Stevens is a community that needs trails, parks, and we're making it happen. So thank you.
Are there any other comments from the board or from the council on the proposed work plan? If not, I think Jill has one final announcement, but again, just appreciate what this board does and the vision that you take council's vision and you make it reality. So thank you all.
Oh,
I'll throw on there real quick too. Go ahead, Sean.
I was just going to say, I really want to echo everything that's already been said, but I do want to call out one specific thing that I'm really excited about looking at the work plan, and it's really hearing more about the addition of a climbing wall. Really looking to see more about that particular conversation. That just seems really exciting. I haven't seen one in a city park before personally, so I'm really excited to see that project move forward.
Thank you.
And I'll jump in and say, I just forgot to say, there are so many people on this Parks Board that have served our community for so long. And thank you. We just can't say enough. I mean, there's many years of combined service on this board. So we're lucky to have you always looking out for our parks and giving us great input. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to jump on here too. There's something's been said a couple of times, and we always talk about the council's vision. And yeah, I'm pretty sure we have a vision, but most of the times, from my point of view, that vision comes from people like you that serve on the Parks Board or on the Planning Commission, people in our staff that bring ideas to us and things. So I think it's an amalgamation of everybody working together to come up with a vision. I don't really see it coming from the council and going down. I just don't think I'm that smart to come up with that kind of a vision. But there's a lot of people that bring things to us of, hey, what about this or what about that? Did you think of this? Hey, I saw this piece of property over here, be a great little park. Those kinds of things are happening all the time. And that's really where the vision is coming from. It's coming from people outside of us. It is coming from our community. It comes from council members, staff, commissioners, everybody puts this in. That's where the actual vision comes from. And I think we've got a great city. I think all of you contribute to that in many ways, and I am very proud of everything we do. Thank you very much.
I could just add one more quick thing. I think that in my first year on the council, one thing that I'm continually struck by is the passion with which you do your work. It's really clear to me that the folks that are on the Parks Board really love our parks, and the people that are on the Planning Commission really love sort of diving into those details and coming to us with recommendations that clearly you've spent time researching and debating and talking through. And I so greatly appreciate your willingness to volunteer your time and to help guide us and to help provide the information that we need to make the right decisions for our city. So thanks to every one of you. Much appreciated.
Thank you. So if that's all from the council, I do have one other item I'd like to share with you. Terry Van Wyck has resigned from the Park Board. Terry was appointed by Mayor Walty in March of 2004. She's been a steady voice on the Park Board for over 16 years and was instrumental in the development of the Eagle Ridge Master Plan. Terry started when parks in Lake Stevens were really small and helped grow the inventory to include additional parks, playgrounds, and a citywide trail plan. This work put Lake Stevens parks in the light that we see them today as vibrant spaces that are enjoyed by all ages and abilities. We really want to thank her and recognize her for her service and sacrifice to this community. We thank you so much, Terry, for participating and volunteering over 16 years. And I would like to give the Park Board an opportunity and also Terry an opportunity to speak. Oh, you're muted, Terry.
It has been an honor to be on this board. I can't believe it's been this long. When I talked to Jill today, she's like, okay, who was the mayor? And I'm like, Walty. But it has been an honor, but I think it's time for me to move on and bring on a new member. I've had some tragedies recently in my life that I need to focus in a different direction. And so I'm not sure if I'm even going to stay in Lake Stevens. So it's been an honor, and thank you very much for letting me stay as long as I did.
And Terry, I just want to thank you for your years of service you were on before I was. And throughout the years, you and I've worked closely together, of course, both being the local sports programs and serving on all those boards is too. You know, usually we're talking soccer or baseball, one of the two sports, but I appreciate all your encouraging words and all your help and you know, encouraging me from being the park board guy that just kind of sat back to one year you were like, hey, I wanted you to try being the chair. And now I've done it 3 or 4 times. So thank you for all of your encouragement. Thank you for all of your input. We are definitely going to miss you. We're going to miss your years of service and knowledge and be assured that Eagle Ridge has not been forgotten, and we will make sure that park becomes everything that you envisioned it to be. So thank you again, Terry.
Thank you, Chris.
Terry, once again, thank you for all your service so much. We've been doing this a long time. So thank you so much. And your commitment has been phenomenal. 16 years. It's a long, long time. So thank you for your dedication to our community and wish you the best.
Thank you. And thank you, Marcus.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sherry. It's much appreciated.
Thank you, Kim.
We wish you well, Terry, and wherever it leads you, please come back and visit, especially when Eagle Ridge is done.
It's been an honor to work with Russ and Jill and Kelly and just everybody. I mean, you guys have all been wonderful to work with. I'm glad that we were able to bring ideas to the council and they were receptive and listened. And that is really wonderful. I'm going to miss Carl and Marlene and everyone else, Chris and Roger and I forget the other 2 ladies' names, but Carl and Marlene were on the board when I came on. So they've got more years than I do.
Thank you, council. And with that, I will turn it over, I believe, to Marcus, but Councilmember Tadgett, excuse me.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Muted, Marcus.
Thank you so much for the Park Board and Planning Board for being here tonight. We look forward to seeing the work plans come to life next year and seeing our parks be vibrant and clean up the code and see our community continue to do well. So thank you for all your service to everyone. And with that, we will move on to our next agenda item, which is the Snow Isle Library lease request.
Thank you very much. I'm going to turn my video off, so hopefully it's a little clearer when I speak. I'm excited about this topic this evening. This goes right in the bucket with no dumb ideas out there, and that's what makes this community great. Everybody shares ideas and concepts, and that's what we've been doing with the Snow Isle Regency Library. As you know, we're entering the next phase of implementing the downtown plan, and we're trying to find a temporary home for Snow Isle. We've looked at the old police station as a possible location for them, and that building will work. And we do plan on doing some renovations. As you know, the building is sinking, and so we have a plan that'll go out to bid, and that building will be raised back up, put back where it belongs. But as they were looking at every option out there, and we were noodling around ideas, they came up with the concept of potentially renting a space on the west side of Lake Stevens, where they could be a little more centrally located. And they approached me with the concept of the city participating in a lease for a period of time until a permanent building could be built. And I think it's a pretty ingenious idea. Another great idea to look at. If we did go this route, it would do several things. It would give them their temporary location they need in the west side of the community, but it also free up the old police station for the city's use. And I don't know what that would be at this time, but we could certainly move City Hall there or surplus the building, but it would give us some opportunity to utilize that building. If the city was going to entertain, or city council entertain a lease, I would recommend that it was for a term, so a set period of years at a set budget amount, because we do have other commitments, and this would be general fund monies that would help support this lease. So I'm open to questions and sharing ideas.
Hey, Gene, thanks for that. I'm wondering what kind of numbers we're talking, what kind of space we're looking at, and what kind of numbers for the properties that have been identified for lease.
I don't have the numbers, Mr. Ewing, but I believe the library is on. Chai, I noticed he was on there earlier, and initially he was talking $4,000 a month city participation.
I know that one of the places that they were looking at was the Payless, which is next to the old SARS store. I hope that we will consider this as a good direction to go. It buys them time, which they need to get their plan in order. And I'm excited about the idea of the city having the old police station for our use. I would think that might be a good plan. And also would free up that the portables that are up on the hill that we want to move anyway. We could sell those somewhere. But I just see potential here to give Snow Isle time to move forward with a greater plan as the Stowe works on their program, on their plan. I think this would be perfect use of money, and it would also maybe save the city money as far as where we're going to put our city hall when we get off the hill at North Cove. So I have talked to Chai about this, and I'm encouraged. I really am. And Jean Brazel has done an amazing job of helping Snow Isle, and the conversation's open, and I would love to hear what other council members think on this.
Gene, if I can jump in here, you indicate there's be about $4,000 a month to the city. What would be the total? Is Snow Isle participating in some sort of lease? Is the actual lease higher than 4,000?
It's my understanding it is. I want to say it was closer to 8,000. Again, we do have Chai with us this evening that could field some of those questions, but certainly, Ms. Petershagen, we'd have to see what we could afford to participate with the current budget we have for 2021.
So along those lines, my understanding, the library district is a taxing authority and does collect taxes throughout the city for its operation. Is that
That's
correct?
Correct.
Do you have any idea how much money that totals every year?
I do not.
And then I guess the follow-up question would be, in the space that they're in, we have given them that space in exchange for providing community service, right?
Correct. We have an agreement in place with Snow Isle that the city provides the space and they provide the service.
And so the space, as Councilmember Dickinson indicated, they were looking at the SARS building, I guess, or next to the SARS building or something, is quite a few square feet more than the existing facility.
The Payless is, I'm sorry, the Payless is next to the SARS. If you go down to that shopping center, you'll see that it's at the corner. And
very south.
It's a small, it's not that big, but they feel they could make it work for a temporary place. And it would be on the west side, which is what they are trying to get the idea that it's.
So I guess the granted, we haven't provided them, in my opinion, a first-class facility for a number of years. But I guess I'm struggling with why, when somebody has a taxing authority to tax real estate within our city for the purpose of their operations, why the city itself would be asked to participate in a facility that they're moving to. Maybe somebody can help me with that.
I think that's a Chai question, or maybe a Jean question, I'm not sure.
Can you unmute Chai, Kelly?
I am trying. There we go.
Yeah, sorry, I got that request and I just wasn't positive if it was appropriate during this point of the council meeting. So thanks for prompting me. So I will do my best with a couple of the questions that were asked, but please remind me if I lost track of one along the way. So the question of looking at current leased properties, the one that we investigated the furthest was the Payless, the former Payless store, and I'm sorry, I forget the name of the facility. I'm hoping folks know the city well enough, you know what we're talking about. The initial price from that landlord was around it was just over $8,000 a month. So we started the conversation at a cost split, a cost sharing, and that's where that $4,000 a piece number came from. Snow Isle would be prepared to participate. I think from our side, we perceive of the city's participation as an opportunity for the city to fulfill their commitment via the annexation agreement to provide a library facility in a creative way as an alternative to needing to use a city-owned facility, and really something we were presenting to you all to consider. To the question of the levy funds, being a 2-county-wide rural library district, and based on the way that that type of taxing authority is set up through the state law and the way that we are monitored by the state auditor, those funds are largely intended for operations, and it's not really sustainable to construct and maintain facilities across 23 plus communities out of those operational funds. And so Snow Isle Libraries typically works with local municipalities to establish a facility, and that's what we're hoping to continue to do in a really collaborative way with the city here in Lake Stevens.
Thank you for that clarification. Jean, would we be able to rent the police station for $4,000 a month?
There's a good possibility, and I could certainly track that down, make some phone calls in the next week or two and see what the rental market holds.
Do you know what the square footage difference is between the Payless option and the old police station?
I do not, but I'll track that down as well.
I think for providing a library, there's a chance it would end up being a similar square footage unless we transformed a larger amount of the police station space, but that had to do with decisions related to the cost of the tenant improvements. For a similar price, we would be using a smaller percentage of the police station footprint.
This is Angie. I'm honestly thrilled to hear that there's still conversation happening about how to figure out a win-win situation. I know that for many reasons, the police station is not an ideal location, temporary location for the library. And I'm excited to hear that there's still creative thinking and collaboration happening. And, I think, we're partners in this, and we owe it to each other to really thoroughly explore all the different options. So I look forward to getting more information about, what the true cost of this might be, whether the Payless store is the kind of the final space that we're looking at, or if there are other spaces. I do see the benefits to having this located on the west end of our city. And again, just excited to hear that we're all still at the table and we're willing to, kind of get creative and think outside the box. So thank you for bringing this information forward, Jean. I appreciate it.
Any more questions from anyone else concerning this topic?
Just not so much a question. Jean, I think that as we continue to discuss these options, I think it's important that we kind of see what the comparable costs to the city ultimately look like, starting with the first option, which obviously we're looking for an alternative to, and kind of see what those numbers look like across the spectrum of options. But I just think it's important that we have all the data so we can look at it in a comparative manner.
Agreed, and I'll track that down. We did a little internal exercise this evening, or today, excuse me, looking at the Chapel Hill site, particularly the library lots, to see if the existing city hall would fit there and what those improvements would cost. And so it would fit there, and there is some pretty extensive cost. And I haven't had a chance to get with Chai on that, but we will work that through and make sure that's included as well. Again, I just appreciate the partnership with Snow Isle. We've put a lot of time into this, and we will find a solution and bring something back to you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Great. Thank you very much. Any more questions or comments for this topic tonight? All right, seeing none, we will go to our last topic for the night, which is stormwater management utility fee with the Lake Stevens School District.
Good evening, Council. I'm going to do the intro for this and then turn it over to Shannon Ferrant, our new stormwater coordinator. Several members of you were part of the rate study discussion back in 2018, but we do have some new council members on staff now. So we had this lengthy discussion when we went through the rate study on whether to exempt the school district from stormwater fees or whether to charge them stormwater fees. It's taken a while for us to get back around to this discussion. But what we have before you tonight, Shannon will be presenting kind of a quick overview of how we charge stormwater fees, not just to the school district, but to commercial, residential, multifamily. And then she did a bang up job putting all this information together on what their fees would look like if we did charge them, and calculating all their ERUs and what their fees would be, and then talk about educational credits, because I believe in the past that's how the city justified not charging the school district stormwater fees, because their participation in an education program. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Shannon to kind of walk council through it very quickly. and then hopefully open up a discussion of how we move forward. So last thing I want to say is, when we discussed all these stormwater projects several weeks ago and the price tag of all this stuff, so that we need to keep that in mind moving forward of what our stormwater rates look like in the future and what revenue we have coming in to cover these large capital costs that are coming up. So Shannon?
Thanks, Eric. Good evening, Council. So as Eric mentioned, to date, the Lake Stevens School District has been considered exempt from the stormwater management fees. That likely has been, the justification for that is educational credits, the school district providing education in the realm of surface water management, and has made them exempt from these fees. That historically has mimicked the way that Snohomish County charges or looks at their school district as far as managing these stormwater fees. Snohomish County does an exemption program for them as well in lieu of these in-kind credits or educational credits. And so that's probably historically how Lake Stevens has charged the school district and looked at the school district. In 2018, the city had a rate study done that looked at the needs of current and future operational costs, complying with the NPDES permit and capital projects, and suggested recommendations for revising the way that the city looks at these stormwater management fees. And they, in 2018, the city moved to an ESU model, and that's an equivalent service unit model. And in doing so, this calculates the fees. Residential and multifamily parcels with 5 or fewer units is calculated at a flat rate. And those rates are amended to the annual taxes, and the Snohomish County actually sends that out with the annual property taxes. And it's not a tax, it's a fee, but it goes out with the annual property taxes. And then all other properties are calculated based on the amount of impervious surface that they have. So the Lake Stevens School District stormwater management fee would be calculated based on amount of impervious surface. So what we've done is we've gone through the 17 parcels that the school district owns, and we've calculated the amount of impervious surface by looking at aerial imagery and delineating all of the impervious surface within those parcels. And it comes out to be about 3.7 million square feet of impervious surface. And to determine the amount of ESUs, or what the equivalent that would look like monetarily is, and one ESU is equivalent to 3,000 square feet. And this is determined based on just an average residential parcel impervious square feet. And so that equates to about 1,254 ESUs. And so there was a rate schedule in 2018, there was a rate schedule that was passed that outlines the cost per ESU through 2024. And so based on the 2021 ESU fee, the school district, it would be $303,552 for all of their impervious surface. So and looking at how we want to present this to the school district, we could have an option for some educational credits. We're thinking up to the amount of 10% of the total stormwater management fees. And we would need to work with the school district to be able to have something that they can provide us on an annual basis, a report that they can point to how they're including surface water education in their curriculum to justify this credit on their fees. We're also proposing to start charging these fees of April, starting April next year. The county charges all the residents, like I said, on their taxes. Actually, the city of Lake Stevens would need to send the Lake Stevens School District this bill. We only do it for one other parcel, and that's the post office. And that bill goes out at the end of the first quarter, so April 1st. And so we would just be sending this bill out at the same time. So with that, I'll just ask if anyone has any questions or if we have any comments. Councilmember Godfrey.
Shannon, I know that you might not have this answer.
Okay.
Is there, yeah, I mean, you're talking about education credits, and I'm not sure that there's any kind of a reporting that that the school district has done for us in the past for that we are, or are we aware of any education that goes on and stuff about stormwater in our schools?
Yeah, so I talked with he's the director of the Lake Stevens School District curriculum, and I asked him that question, and he's actually fairly new to the position, and this year things are a little bit different. So there's not any curriculum that's specifically designed to tie in like surface water management, in particular in the city of Lake Stevens. In the past, there has been some like field trip type things that have happened with the detention ponds on school property, where I think we have partnered with the Snohomish County Conservation District to do kind of field trip lessons out there that tie into the detention ponds. That's really all that has happened. You know, to my knowledge, there's not been any kind of annual or quarterly reporting from the school district that specifically justifies this exemption status. And when I say that I think it mimicked, you know, we've historically mimicked what Snohomish County has done, and Snohomish County did require their school district to provide an annual report of costs for providing these educational services. And it got to be a point where it was just, in the words of the contact at Snohomish County, a lot of paperwork back and forth. So they kind of did away with the whole reporting, and they just said, okay, they're exempt. You know, and talking with Snohomish County, because they helped me recalculate the impervious surface, they're also looking at the way that they charge these fees to their school district, and maybe looking at some alternatives in the future as we are now. And I will say too, I did talk to the city of Bothell. I talked to the city of Mukilteo, and a couple other, city of Kenmore, and then they've known a couple other contacts in other shoreline. They all charge their school districts just like any other property.
That was going to be my question. So thanks for answering that this time. Yep.
Yeah, thanks for your answers, Shannon. Good job.
Yeah, I just want to say, for somebody that's a new kid on the block, well done. Yeah, stormwater is really an issue for us. There's no question about it. We've got a lake surrounded by hills, and that creates problems. And I was surprised to see the square footage of our schools, because I never thought of it before, how much impermeable surface there is. I just wonder if now's the time, but you're talking about April. So things are rough pretty much right now. I understand, and it's important, and I hope we will, in due diligence, look at the education credit options. I think we should hold them to that, because if kids live in Lake Stevens and they don't understand the importance of that issue, I think we're missing the boat. This is their town. They need to know. I would say, if you want Mary to go out there and shake a few fingers at people and say, do you know this? Old school teacher over here, I can do that. But I just wonder about it right now. And I understand, and makes perfect sense, Eric, about our huge expenses we have in the future and how this would help. And it's appropriate. So I guess I'm coming back to that question about now, but that's all I have to say. Otherwise, well done, Shannon. Good research. Thank you for a good explanation too. Thank you.
Thank you,
Hey, Mary,
Shannon,
it
for
looks
your-
like you're waving that pencil pretty menacingly. I hope you didn't do that in the classroom.
Never.
Could you please repeat the amount? So they're not paying anything now, and what would be the amount that they would pay if we move forward with this?
Yeah, the amount that they would pay in 2021, so next year, would be $303,552.
So there would be the school district would be going from paying $0 to over $300,000 a year.
Correct. So what we're we're proposing is to start this next year as of April 1st. So it would be prorated for next year for only the 9 months, and that would be 227,664. Still a larger number than nothing.
Is there any, I mean, I realize this is a public meeting. Have there been any conversations up until now? Do they know that this is a possibility?
I can let Eric answer that. To my knowledge, no, but we wanted to have this conversation so that we can approach them.
Sure.
The answer to that is yes. We had conversations with them during our rate study. They had significant input because they are the largest impervious surface, basically business in the city of Lake Stevens by far. They well up or exceed anything that any other business has. So we've had multiple conversations with them about this coming down the road. I do wish we could have gotten it to them sooner, but we were without this position that Shannon took for almost a year, and we just weren't able to get to it.
Sure.
It would have been nice to have this, going, so they had it going into their budget session. That's why we kind of thought we could prorate this out and give them a few months to figure out their budget and do whatever they needed to do. The one other thing, if you turn to page 31 in the packet, it lists out all the schools. A big discussion that Shannon and I had whether artificial turf calculated as impervious or non-impervious. And you see that in a lot of other cities. Some cities charge for the athletic fields that are artificial turf and others don't. So we calculated those separate, that you can look at this graph. So that is something we could do and have a discussion on as far as should we charge for the high school and Cavallero mid-high. That could reduce their bill some. If you looked at the chart there, if we didn't charge for the artificial turf. We've also talked about some options internally that maybe we could break this out over 2 years. Maybe they pay 50%, in 2021, and then 2022, they pay 100% of the fee. So it isn't such a big hit in 1 year. We're open, to look at all options and whatever council would like to do, obviously. We realize it's a big hit. So if we wanted to do that, we could probably justify that. So, it's not a $300,000 hit the first year, but maybe 150 the first and then 300 after that. This education credit, I did go to one field trip back in 2019, I believe, on their education program. But since then, we've really seen nothing. I'd like Shannon to explain a little bit more on page education credit options. That would be page 32, Shannon, that student resource link that you have there, how other cities kind of piggyback to this Washington office of the superintendent of a certain curriculum on surface water and environmental things, that other cities are able to say, if they meet this requirement that the superintendent lays out, then they would get the credit. So could you explain that to us a little bit more?
Yeah. And so this is just included in there as an example. Like I said, the other cities that I have talked to, they were kind of doing a credit system, and it just never really worked out. It never got to be that the standards that the city was looking for, and there was a lot of administrative paperwork and back and forth. So they went away and with all the credits, all of the cities that I've talked to. This resource here that is included in the report is what Snohomish County provided me. And it's something that they are looking into using to say, okay, if the school district can point to these kind of environmental and sustainability standards, if it's something that they can provide us, within their curriculum that points to these standards, then they could justify that as a credit. So this is just an example. This is something that we could work with the school district on and provide them and use it as something just tangible that we could make that justification for a credit.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon, thank you for this great report. I like it. It's factual. Question for you as far as the existing ponds that the school district has built in the last, let's say 15 years. Because looking at the list, I'm assuming there's probably, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 facilities that don't have any storm retention ponds or facilities because of the age of the structure. So I'm wondering, in the case of Stevens Creek Elementary, who maintains that pond?
I'll let Eric, yeah, I'm gonna let Eric respond to that.
Well, I can tell you it's the school district does it because I watch them do it.
Yeah. We do, and the city does inspect them, but the school district is supposed to maintain them.
So the ponds, the storm drainage facilities that the school district constructs with their facilities are not dedicated to the city?
They are not. However, we take all the overflow and are responsible for it when it leaves their ponds. Not any different than an HOA who maintains their ponds, but still all the residents get charged the amount, right? It ultimately ends up in the city's hands to deal with water quality and quantity once it leaves their ponds. So,
is the school district required to get an NPDES permit every 2 years, whatever it is?
not that I know of. No, I don't think they need to.
So that the discharge falls on the city's requirements then?
Correct.
And the city does inspect their ponds.
So what question, are you done, Gary? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm done. Thank you.
So the question about the pervious surfaces, the artificial turf at Cavallero and the high school, those were done with surface water management and, as the idea, and they actually work really, really well. I've been there in some really heavy rains and you don't even see any water on them. They just soak right through. But that's just a small part of their impervious surface calculation. It wouldn't really amount to much, but I still think that the square footage of what they have done with their artificial turf and going into those stormwater ponds might come off of that calculation.
Sure, that could be if that's what council would like to see. That's why we broke it out separately. That's where our head was at. I think both Shannon and I were shocked when we seen the number. And so it's like, well, how much is the field and how does that impact the rate? Just bear in mind, those fields have a stormwater system underneath them. It doesn't it's not all infiltration, right? That goes back into the groundwater. It's collected and put to the pond. I think there is some infiltration, but not 100%. So.
Yeah, I think it would really kind of revolve around how that system actually works, and are we still taking overflow off of those? Like we are. Well, I know we took some overflow off of the one down here on Lake Drive last year because that pond filled all the way over to the overflow. So they were out there trying to make it go back down again. So, okay, thank you.
Great. Any discussion on this tonight?
The only thing I would add to this, if you're looking for a direction, at least from my standpoint, I think everybody needs to pay for their fair share. And you're exactly correct. There is the overflow or the downstream discharge that takes place that impacts the city. So there is a cost to this. So I would encourage that we move forward with this in some sort of way.
I would say that we have to move forward with it in some way too. Hopefully we can maybe ease them into it a little bit, look at some plans maybe to ease them into it. And just because they were part of their budget planning this year and so forth. So.
Yeah, I agree with both of those sentiments.
Me too.
Great. Sounds like you have a little bit of direction moving forward.
Yeah.
Shannon?
One last question. What's easing into this? Is it 33% a year for 3 years? Is it 50% for 2? Is it 25 for 4?
I go 50% first year and then full the second year. So I think that would be a balanced way to do it. They haven't been paying for many years, and 85 acres of impervious surface is a considerable amount that we're taking on as a city. And so, as has been said before, having them pay a fair share, pay to play, so to speak, is appropriate.
Along with a timeline, and I don't know that there is a good way to get there, but in terms of prioritization of phasing, you could consider which of these has the greatest downstream impact is part of how we move them into this, so that we capture those that are most impactful sooner and then move forward from there.
I see. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. So look at the ones that we have the most maintenance responsibility on, downstream flows, charge them starting next year, and then, roughly 50% of them. And then the other 50% would come on board in 2022, something along those lines.
Buys a little time for them.
Yeah, I like that approach.
Me too.
Okay.
Any
You have
last comments on that? Seeing none, this would be conclude our last meeting of the year. I hope everyone has a great holiday season and has the ability to spend some time with family members, whether it be virtual or small gatherings. I'm saying that the right way, Sean. Barring the need of a special meeting or anything like that, this would conclude our last meeting of the year. Any last comments before we go?
Yeah, one quick comment. So the 50% we're talking about charging for next year, would you still want me to prorate that till April? So 50% then minus the first quarter and start the rate, or just do the 50% in 2021 and we'd bill them in April, but they'd pay for the full year? Because Shannon and I had the discussion about prorating that out, just so they actually started paying in April, if that makes sense. So they weren't paying for the full year, they were paying for 9 months essentially. So just so we can work on this between now and the next meeting of what this bill may look like.
I think that's good. Well, I echo what Marcus said. Great year. Council did a great job. It was it was a lot of fun. I would rather meet in person. As a matter of fact, I was talking to my wife today and said, we got this great council thing down at the mill. We can't use it. I think I'm just going to sneak down there one of these times and put my Zoom down there and be the only one in our council chambers for our meeting. But anyway, I appreciate everything that everybody did on the council staff. Phenomenal job for the year. I'm just really, really proud of this city. Thank you very much for all of your participations and making it a great year. Angie, if you don't mind, I'd like to give you a call really quick after this.
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Eric, did you get your direction that you were looking for?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Appreciate all the staff's work this year. It's we're a busy place, so we got more to come, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Here's a 2021. I can't wait. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Let's get on to 2021.
Great. Happy holidays. And thank you, staff, once again, and the planning and parks for people that are still on here. Great year, everyone. Look forward to a great year moving forward. And with that, we'll adjourn. And with that, we'll adjourn the meeting.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Night all. Happy holidays.